Hello everyone, welcome to Leeds Beckett University's presentation on living on campus versus off campus here in the UK. Leeds Beckett University is based in the UK. So thanks very much for joining us here today. And yeah, let's begin. So my name is Aaron Taylor. I'm the International Development Officer for North America and Europe at Leeds Beckett University, and you are more than welcome to contact me using the contact details below. This is my email address, and you can also send me a WhatsApp message if you prefer as well. Okay, so as I said, the talk today is going to be a little bit about, that's one of the most commonly asked questions that we get asked as international officers and working as part of this national team from students is, where should I be living when I arrive in the UK? And that's kind of what we're here for, is to help you find the right place for yourself, and we're always here to support you as well. Hopefully everyone is aware of where Leeds is in the world. It's actually in England, which is in the UK, but it's actually in the north of England as well, so kind of in the area of Liverpool, Manchester. Hopefully if your geography is pretty good, you'll know where those sort of places are, but it's not too far. I mean, England's quite a sort of compact country, especially compared to Canada. So, I mean, it's very easy to get around the cities, but it's actually a very large city. Its population is just under 800,000, which makes it the third largest city in the UK. Now, it's quite well known for its big student population as well. So it actually has 5 universities within the city, and that makes up for around 70,000 students during term time that are actually on campus in Leeds. Now, what that means for you, if you're looking for a common student housing, is that there in Leeds, there's actually always a surplus of housing. So if you don't know what that means, then that means that there are always too many houses for students. So a lot of the landlords and a lot of the student housing options and the sort of the bodies that sort of govern the student housing options, they all realise the potential for student accommodation, student housing. There's obviously a lot of value in that, and there are lots and lots of options within the city because there are so many students in there. Now, that is a bonus for you, definitely. It means that you have so much choice. It also means that you will never not be able to find a house. So you'll definitely have quite a varied sort of selection to choose from, whether the different areas of the city you would like to choose from, the different styles of houses, the different occupancy numbers as well. So how many people would you like to live with? Would you like to live on your own? So that means that there is so many different options for you. Now, I don't know how much else you do know about England and UK in general, but more towards the north of England, we tend to see cheaper prices more. So it tends to be a little bit more affordable than it would do down in the south of London. Now, let's take UKVI's requirements for which is the government requirements for when you're applying for your student visa. Now, you need to show in your bank account, if you're a student in London, that needs to be £1,334 per month to be able to support yourself. Whereas outside of London, then it's just over £1,000 as well, and that gets even more affordable the further up north that you do go. So it's kind of well known around the UK that the north of England does tend to be a very sort of, your money will go quite a long way in terms of rent prices, just general living costs as well, so food and drink and that type of thing. So I wouldn't say that you need to worry at all about finding accommodation and also being able to afford accommodation. But like I say, we have lots of different options, and you just find the right one that depends on your budget, really. So if you were to come to us, what I would recommend straight away, to be honest, is go for on-campus accommodation. And that's my short answer. I'm going to explain a little bit more about why we do recommend always going for on-campus accommodation as opposed to private accommodation. Now, we actually guarantee student accommodation for international students, especially if you apply between the booking period around springtime through to summer. No matter what time you do apply, there will be some sort of options for you. I think you'll probably find the majority of the options will tend to become occupied around February or March time, because this is in line with the UK application cycle. And then more towards the summer, you might find your options are a little bit more limited than they would be earlier on in the year. So I'd highly recommend, as soon as you do submit an application and get an offer from us, I'd highly recommend having a look at the accommodation options straight away. We also tried our very best to match you with like-minded students, so that may be other international students, it may be other students that are on similar programs to you. Hopefully this means that you're able to meet some great friends and have a lot in common with these people that you're going to be living with. A lot of the student accommodation options are easy travelling distance, so within campus sort of distance. Now we actually have two campuses at Leeds Beckett. We have one in the city centre, and then we have one that's just outside the city centre as well. It's around about a 10-15 minute bus journey, which is very small. You don't need a car, to be honest. A lot of people walk or cycle. It's very easy to get to and from the campus and between all of the different types of accommodation as well, the campus and the city centre and things like that too. So rarely do you need, kind of like to get a train or whatever like that. It's very sort of easy to get to and from each of the various options. A lot of all of them, in fact, have free Wi-Fi. Now, when you do pay your rental costs, this is included in the actual rental cost as well. So you don't need to worry about any Wi-Fi. You don't need to go through the process of setting up any bills, contacting energy suppliers, that type of thing as well, which is always a bit of a nuisance, trying to figure out which one's going to be the best value for money, get a payment plan in place, all of these things. And a lot of the contracts, in fact, especially with Wi-Fi, some of them they like to lock you in for around 18 months as well. And that's not ideal if you're going to be a student that's there for 12 months and you can't you have to pay to get out of that contract early. So that's always a good thing. If you do go for student accommodation, you don't have to, you're not getting yourself into these Wi-Fi contracts, energy or water supply, that type of thing. Not getting into these types of contracts. So we always recommend this for this particular reason. Now, we also have residential officers around all of the Leeds Beckett accommodation options, and they're responsible for your pastoral care. Now, even if you don't get on with any of your flatmates, if you do choose to live with some other people, so we actually have options where you live with people or options where you can just live on your own. If you don't like the people you live with, that's fine. It happens. What we can do is you contact your residential officer, and then they will make sure that they match you up with someone else that's going to be a little bit more your cup of tea, so to speak. So and that's just at the request of an email. So you can literally just get in touch with the residential officers, and there are these people there for you whose sole responsibility it is to look after your welfare. So I mean, if one of the neighbours is playing very loud music, or that which does happen sometimes, or various other reasons, but you do have that flexibility to be able to request to change a room if you do need to. Like I was saying before, we do have single rooms available too. So if you don't want to share with another person, that's fine. If you do have if you go for shared accommodation, I'll just explain that a little bit more. So if you do go for shared accommodation, everyone has their own bedroom. However, you will share the communal areas. So you'll share the kitchen, you share the living space. Everyone still has their own bedroom. You can choose to have your own private bathroom, or if you don't mind having a shared bathroom, that's an option too. And there are various costs involved in that. So what I would recommend, and what I did when I was at university, I went for shared accommodation. Now that means obviously you share in your communal area, and that was with 5 other people. So there were 6 people in this particular dorm, this particular flat. However, I had that private bathroom option, and I would highly recommend that personally, just from a sort of hygiene point of view. That's just something that I regard quite highly, but everyone's going to be quite different. And it's what works for you with your budget, with your preferences. Like I say, that's the one that I'd recommend. But just work with the accommodation team when you register for your room after you get offered a place at Leeds Beckett, and we can work out the best option for you. What we also like students to do is to connect with people beforehand. And if you don't have Facebook already, I'd probably recommend getting it, just because that's a very sort of, it is a good way to stay in touch with a lot of people, and they will advertise, say that they're staying in this particular dorm. Is there anyone else in this particular dorm? Anyone from this country staying in this particular area? That kind of thing as well. And if anyone has a spare room, then they'll advertise these on various sorts of Facebook pages too. I'd highly recommend getting involved in those, and that's something that we can help out with again when we get further down the line. Now, a really good starting place, and to save going into the level of detail of lots of different prices and all the options, I've kind of given you a brief overview in that last slide just then. But if you were to visit our accommodation webpage, this has the full list of all of the options. We actually have 8 different options that you can choose from. And these are spread across our 2 campuses, like I say. So you can see we actually have 2 campuses. One of them is in the middle of the city centre, where it's got Leeds, just close to Leeds City Museum, kind of more towards the bottom right of the map on the screen there. And then more towards the top left, now that's our second campus, where you can see the picture of the bedroom there. That is called Headingley campus, and Headingley is quite a big student area as well. So we have accommodation options that are right on campus. Some of them are a little bit of a walk away, so it just depends how sort of close, how far you away from campus that you don't mind being, or if you've got a certain preference, then you can definitely go for whichever one that you want to. Check out the website, the accommodation website, and there's a full list of all of these different options, and most importantly, the prices of these as well. So you can filter out which ones. So say if you're studying at City campus, for example, rather than Headingley campus, then you may want to choose one that's a little bit closer to your classes, and then you can filter out for these options on the website as well, and then you can tailor the prices to suit your own budget. So I'd highly recommend going on there. Now, obviously, some people on-campus options isn't for everyone, and yes, on-campus accommodation does tend to have maybe younger students, so around 18, 19, 20-year-olds, a lot of bachelor's students, I would say. However, that's not limited to bachelor's students. A lot of master's students go for this type of accommodation as well, the on-campus accommodation, and it's just a little bit more secure, I would say, especially if you don't know where you're if you're not very familiar with that area, you don't exactly know which areas are good to be living in, or what sort of what there is on offer. So everyone has their own opinions, and sometimes if you would like to live, if you would like to search for your own private accommodation, we can sort of help with that as well. But that obviously isn't connected to Leeds Beckett University at all. So there are only so many things that we can do to help if you did want to go with private options. Like I say, we really recommend going for on-campus options. This isn't an exhaustive list. However, I've given a few reasons for and against going for on-campus accommodation. And yeah, it does tend to be a little bit more expensive, and you'll probably find some cheaper private accommodation as well if you. But that's the thing. You do have to look for it. You do have to go through all these websites, arrange viewings, that type of thing as well. And it's very difficult to see what the room's like itself, actually see inside the room. Whereas if you look at the Leeds Beckett accommodation website, you can see full 360 images of the rooms. There's videos of what the rooms look like. So it is a little bit more expensive, but the main reason for this is, yes, it's attached to the university, but also your bills are included, like I was saying before, whereas your bills aren't included with private accommodation. So that's where you're going to have to do a lot of research and searching for the best prices around. You'll have to sign up for different contracts for Wi-Fi and utilities and that type of thing. So there is a little bit more risk involved because there isn't as much security, like I say, or not security, not physical security, but more kind of protection around your contracts. And especially during these times at the moment, we've been able to support the students in being able to give them refunds on the campus accommodation if they have signed up for it, because they're obviously not there at the moment because a lot of our teaching is online. So we've been able to do that, but we wouldn't be able to do that for private accommodation, basically, because it's not connected to the university. So there's just certain risks that you would have to consider. And that's the top three bullet points that I've just covered. Fourthly, there are lots of options if you go for on-campus accommodation. Like I was saying before, you can choose ensuite rooms, you can choose for whether you want to live in shared accommodation or privately, on your own as well in studio apartments. However, if you do go for private options, it tends to be mainly shared housing in groups of around 6 different people, maybe. I think you'll find that that is quite a cheap option if you're looking to save some money. However, you might find that yes, it's a house full of 6 people, but there may only be one bathroom that you have to share. So there are lots of different things that you have to think about. Like I say, there's a limited choice. So you can't guarantee your room size, for example. You don't know what the condition of the room is going to be like. You have to trust the landlords and the letting agents a lot. So that's where we, I highly recommend going for the Leeds Beckett on campus option. And finally, just to sort of give a different take on things, we have a few different payment plans as well if you do go for on-campus accommodation. So usually you pay for the accommodation in 3 different installments. Now that's if you start in September, that'll be around about October time. Second one will be January. Third one will be about springtime, around March or April time. So those are your 3 very clear payment dates, and you'll pay those fixed prices for those 3 different installments. Now, we have heard in the past, when international students have arrived in Leeds and they've opted for private accommodation, or they are looking for private accommodation at least, then some of the landlords have requested payment upfront. So that can be anywhere from 3 months, 6 months, maybe even the full 12 months upfront, especially if you're looking to take out, for example, the OSAP loans if you're based in Ontario, a lot of the financial aid, government aided loans, where the landlord can't see exactly where the money's coming from. It isn't secure money for them. So and I think there's just a little bit of a trust element there as well. So this is something that we found with international students looking at private accommodations. So I think just from a security point of view, financial security, they like to have their payments upfront. And like I say, it's usually on average around about 6 months in advance. And that's also because if you go for private accommodation, they will ask for landlord referencing as well. And that has to be a UK reference, which if you don't currently live in the UK, then obviously you don't have. So those are the 2 options. You have either have a UK reference, which you won't have, or you pay 6 months up front, which can be quite pricey. So even though it's cheaper short term, in the long run, it will be maybe, more immediately, it will be expensive for you because you'll probably have to do quite a large down payment on your private accommodation. So yeah, all these different things to think about. Hopefully that does provide a brief / quite in-depth overview of the different accommodation options, and hopefully that's something that, like I say, we get asked a lot about this type of thing, and it's hopefully quite beneficial for you. But if you do have any questions at all, feel free to contact myself or the international team. Their email address is on the screen at the moment. Feel free to send some comments in on the chat box on the right hand side, and we'll try our best to answer those. If you have any more, if you'd like to check out their website, you're more than welcome to. That's leedsbeckett.it.uk/international. Definitely check out our social media channels. We have blogs and vlogs from keen filmmaking students and that type of thing that have created videos about their life in student halls, and what they would recommend, what they would advise against, and also just different types of top tips that they wish they would have known before they did arrive in the UK, or if it may be UK students, for example, that are giving their opinion on what it's like coming from a UK background as well. So I definitely check out the YouTube channel, if not all of them. And we will, if you, so like I say, I mean, even if you check out the others, We have a lot of events going on that are run by the international team. We have a huge international engagement society as well, and that helps run these events. And if there is anything that you would like us to discuss anything more, honestly, feel free to get in touch with us any sort of means, and we'll go from there. But yeah, like I say, thanks very much for listening, for your time today, and all the very best for the future. Okay, take care.